I'm Isaac Bluefoot, and this is my blue foot. Let's talk about the chameleon in the room. Like the elephant in the room, the chameleon in the room is something we probably should talk about, but either don't want to, or just don't know how. Unlike the elephant in the room, the chameleon in the room is more subtle and not as obvious. With its ability to camouflage, you may have never even noticed it was here in the room at all. The chameleon in the room I'm talking about, of course, is the karma chameleon. A brief note before we begin. For the next several minutes, I'm going to be using the term East to refer to Asian philosophy and the term West to refer to the Euro-colonial worldview. I myself find these terms terribly confusing, especially after having grown up in California. In California, the entire proverbial West is to the East, and conversely, the proverbial East is all to the West. It seems so far to the West here in California that sometimes it's almost in the East. Perhaps this nearly Eastern-Western perspective is a part of why I cringe when I hear Westerners flippantly use the term karma. The most basic definition of karma describes it as that which causes our experiences and determines our outcomes. The concept has been used in the East for thousands of years, and even though the true Tao can't be spoken, I feel the term karma is a rather useful one, when used responsibly. Having said that, I want to be clear. I don't believe in good, bad, or instant karma, and find these descriptions to be detrimental, if anything. Western culture has a kind of propensity for retribution. Maybe it's all the Babylonian heritage of eyes for eyes and teeth for teeth, but it's a rather two-dimensional take on karma when it's limited to degrees of good and bad. In the West, karma is often reduced to some omnipotent judge doling out punishments and rewards based on how well we follow the golden rule. I'm somewhat saddened to hear people repeating memes that seem to miss the point of spiritual mindfulness altogether. They describe karma like a law and expect justice to be administered. Some of my least favorite of these memes include: Dear Karma, I have a list of people you missed. Or, don't waste your time on revenge. Those who hurt you will eventually face their own karma. Or, I hope karma slaps you in the face before I do. These aren't even the worst uses of the term karma. They're just the ones I could find that excluded profanity. Yet even without direct curse words, it's a sad state where wishing and hoping for the suffering of others supersedes self-awareness, self-development, and even self-love. Worse yet, by this rationale, it's implied that just as surely as the bad people of this world are receiving their punishment, the good righteous people of this world are the ones who live the most comfortable and rich lives. Also, this logic assumes that when we ourselves are suffering, it's because we simply have bad karma and deserve to suffer. This seems to be the same kind of mindset that led ancient Hindus into creating their discriminative caste system, so perhaps it's not a uniquely Western trait to interpret karma so trivially as just good and bad on a grayscale. I don't think any of this good and bad karma business is actually serving a single soul to live a better life than any other punitive deity. And as for instant karma, well, for all my deep admiration of John Lennon, who would probably be my guru more than anyone else, I see the effects of instant karma as being less caused by the forces of karma, and more by fairies. I kid you not. How I see it, fairies work for Trickster, ensuring the funniest of possible outcomes occur. They're attracted to contradictions in words and thoughts and deeds, and find the fastest way possible to the punchline. So when you see someone acting rudely and promptly finding themselves proverbially or literally smacked by the universe, it's not so much because of karma as it is because it's funny. Frankly, I've noticed my ego is always at play in my conscience just before I take a big fall, and fairies are ever attracted to the billowing of an inflated ego. But fairies are another story. What we're talking about is a chameleon, and chameleons can hide very well. So for now, I'm going to simply try to offer you a means of understanding this chameleon. With some agreed upon vernacular, we can come to some kind of mutual understanding of what karma is. To do so, I believe it is best to understand karma as an equation. The karma equation goes as follows. As I've already mentioned, the most basic definition of karma is that which causes our experiences. It is the causation, our lives are the effect. Karma equals experience. The second part of the equation is that our experiences determine our perspective of the world. Whenever I share this statement, I'm always a little surprised how easily it's agreed upon. It's like some kind of tenet of this age we live in. To understand that the world anyone is brought up in makes a significant impression on who they become. It's easy to understand anyone born and raised in Beverly Hills sees the world very differently than those born and raised in East Oakland. People can relate to the experiences they know. Experience equals perception. And so, if karma equals experience and experience equals perception, then I propose we remove the middle factor and say that karma equals perception. What each of us see and do not see of the world says more about what we are capable of seeing with our karma than what is actually in the world or not in the world. Whatever it is you think I'm saying right now as you listen to this is not necessarily what I'm saying. You can only hear as much of this concept as your karma will allow you to. Karma is like some kind of color lens filter, but it does far more than distort the color spectrum. Karma distorts shape and mass and consequences as well. Karma takes the form of our expectations and holds us to them. It turns out the reason we couldn't see the elusive chameleon in the room is that there is no room. There isn't even an elephant. Both the room and the elephant were illusions of the chameleon all along. Rarely does perception allow us to see anything that doesn't agree with our previously established beliefs. It's easy to live uncountable lifetimes experiencing the same sets of joys and woes. So easy that we find ourselves lumping karma into goods and bads and falling deeper into the illusion. Yet hopefully with this equation, we can begin to understand the mechanism by which perception is limited, and with a little bit of effort, we can each expand our own perception. Expand your perception, and you expand your karma. Expand your karma, and you maybe even have a chance to become a better human being. Like seriously. You can take at least a little control of this chameleon of a room by treating karma like a kind of yoga. And though I do mean this metaphorically, I also don't mean this metaphorically. Karma yoga is actually one of the 3 classical forms of yoga. It is a kind of yoga in itself, yet practicing karma yoga is not all that different from practicing hatha yoga. Hatha yoga is the practice of stretching one's body by holding challenging poses. You're probably already familiar with it. In the West, it's usually just called yoga. Stretching your karma is like stretching your body. There are some times in life when circumstances and relationships can cause emotional pain. I have no doubt you know what pain I'm talking about. There's no way to point to it, know where it resides in the body. Like a difficult stretch, these moments are made easier by realizing you're already doing it. Once you accept you are already in the pose, you just relax yourself into it, breathing deeply into the stretch as you exhale. Let's begin a stretch together. First, accept that whatever life circumstances are causing your emotional pain are already underway. There you are. Just relax. Don't deny it. Next, have compassion for the relationships that are at the heart of your suffering. There you go. Find compassion for all those people. I know you think some of them are jerks, but they all have backstories. Each of them were once a baby. Go ahead, Have compassion for them. Breathe into it. There you go. How do you feel? Are your proverbial joints feeling looser? Can you feel all that gratitude and forgiveness? Excellent. Try practicing these stretches whenever you suffer from emotional pain. By practicing compassion, I promise you can expand your perception and in turn, expand your karma. Hopefully we can each learn to suffer less in our next lifetime, and maybe even a little less in this one. Thank you for taking this time to listen. To get more pro tips on being human, be sure to subscribe to My Bluefoot on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts, and please leave a review. This has been a Dragonflower Inc. production. Sound recording and editing by me, Isaac Bluefoot. Theme music by Royal Jelly. Find me on Twitter at the handle iBluefoot. And before I sign off, I'd like to add a few notes. You can learn a little more about fairies by listening to Metacosmos. Metacosmos is another Dragonflower Inc. podcast featuring metaphysicist extraordinaire Bartleby Knee-High from the Kinetic Paranormal Society. That's another project of mine where a pair of socks travel through time and space solving supernatural mysteries. Also, I want to thank Boy George for his insights on karma. I'm not all too sure how his lyrics about love gone sour relates to karma or chameleons, but tying the two together was brilliant and made the foundation of this episode. And finally, listen through to the end to hear a cover of Karma Chameleon by Rose and Guild, and check the links in the description of this episode to find more lovely songs by this talented British artist. And until next time, remember, seeing is believing, and yet believing is seeing.
There's a laughing in your eyes all the way. If I listened to your lies, what would you say? I'm a girl without conviction. I'm a girl who doesn't know how to sell a contradiction. You come and go, you come and go. Oh, come a chameleon. You come and go, you come and go. Loving would be easy if the colors are like my dreams. Red, gold, and green, red, gold, and green. Didn't hear your wicked words every day. And you used to be so sweet, I heard you say that my love was an addiction. When we cling, our love is strong. When you go, you're gone forever. You string along, you string along. Come a chameleon. You come and go, you come and go. Loving would be easy if the colors were like my dreams. Red, gold, and green, red, gold, and green. Every day it's like survival. You're my lover, not my rival. Every day it's like survival. You're my lover, not my rival. Come a chameleon. You come and go, you come and go. Loving would be easy if your colors are like my dreams. Red, gold, and green, red, gold, and green. Come a chameleon. You come and go, you come and go.
Questions. Without them, you can't learn anything. And questions only lead to more questions. And we can only hope we never learn the final answer to that final question. Welcome to Metacosmos. Join me, metaphysicist extraordinaire Bartleby Knee-High, as we explore the expanse of the universe and the depths of the soul. Metacosmos, where no metaphysical quandary is too big and no existential dilemma too small.